Hey, what's up guys? Ryan Riggin here with Answer Media and here with my business partner Matt Brummett. And we're going to dig into e-commerce, connected TV, and this concept of linear commerce today. So we're going to see what we can learn. I'm going to ask Matt a bunch of questions about our connected TV business and kind of dig into what it's going to take for an e-commerce brand to get into the CTV OTT world. So just a little bit of background. You guys may or may not know me from watching the previous episodes, but I'm Ryan. I run our agency business. Matt, why don't you do a quick introduction of kind of how you fit into the Answer Media space crew?
Yep, I'm the Chief Revenue Officer. I work on strategy, specifically on our TV business, but I also am responsible for monetizing that business as well. So working with advertisers, demand partners, programmatic ad exchanges, etc.
Yeah, so today I really want to dig into, I want to explore kind of what it's going to take for an e-commerce brand specifically to get into the CTV OTT game. We get a lot of questions about, things like what is CTV? First of all, what's the difference between CTV and OTT? How do we leverage it? Should we be building apps? Should we be making channels? Should we be creating content? How do we buy this ad inventory? All the above. So we're just going to go super fast and dig into these topics. If you have any questions about this kind of stuff, or if your marketing leadership team is trying to figure out how to navigate these waters, hit us up and we'll do our best to help you navigate how to get into the space. We're going to kind of freestyle today, look at a couple different implementations on both my computer and on our TV here in the office. But before we dig into it, why don't we start at the beginning? Like, give me the just basics on, what is CTV, how is it different than OTT, and what does all that mean?
So CTV, connected TV, are the devices. So the Samsung Smart TVs, the Apple TV, Roku, the Amazon Fire Sticks. So CTV, connected TV, are the apps or the devices. OTT, which is over the top, typically means where you're accessing streaming content online. So
it sits on top of the cable box.
Yes. So CTV would be the Samsung TV, but OTT would be Pluto TV app on Samsung TV where you're watching TV.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so we hear this term linear TV a lot. Show me on the, we're going to do this shot on the TV up here. So give me an example of like talk me through what linear TV is.
So linear TV is just like standard cable TV,
okay,
where there's a guide. It's a guide experience. It's more of a lean back and drop in experience where the user has a guide of content that they can choose from, whereas VOD, video on demand, is where you have to actively choose what content you want to watch, like Netflix.
Got it. So you got to go in and like actively make a decision around what to watch. But Pluto TV, so we're going to pull it up here. So this is Pluto TV. This is an app owned by, who owns Pluto again?
Viacom CBS.
So Viacom CBS owns Pluto. This is a free app that you can get on, Samsung, Fire, any of the big platforms. And then you can, just scroll through the channels like you would on a regular TV, right? So, and then there's no subscriptions or anything like that. It's all ad supported. So if I want to watch Bloomberg TV, I click it on and it's just on all day long. And what you'll find is that if you scroll through the channel guide here, you're going to see, a lot of the stuff that you would see on regular TV, right? CNN, CBS, NBC, but then what's interesting is you get down in the weeds here and you can see some sort of what we'll call like, I don't even know what you would call this, niche, TV channels, like, things like Love and Hip Hop or,
Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Channel. Yeah, like the Survivor channel, 24/7 Survivor.
They have a Price is Right channel.
Yeah, Wipeout. So, and I think what's interesting about that is like, the technology really doesn't matter. What matters is the content, right? So you like if you have a big enough bank of content, then you can support having your own channel, right? So you can fill a whole channel up with true crime episodes, or our connected TV, studio in the last year has been working on. We've launched several channels
in the paranormal space,
paranormal,
gaming,
military. So, we have these deals with content studios where we can support, in some cases, having our own channel, but we get asked a lot from the brands that we work with on our agency side, like, how do we get in this game? How do we participate in this space? What is it? And there's a bunch of different ways. And the most common, I think, question after, like, what is it, is, well, how do we participate? And I'd like to dive into this topic because I see a couple different ways to participate, and I just kind of want to dissect them all. Mm-hmm. So if I'm an e-commerce brand, the ways that I can participate in this world would be, to create like my own apps, right? So like if I go to the TV here and, if I want to, let's say I were let's say we're a golf brand, I could create a, whatevermygolfbrand.com application, and it would be a native app on, whatever platform I was on. I can't get that to work, but exit, yeah. So I have to edit this out, but. So yeah, if I could create my own app. Now that may not be the best idea, because what's the challenge of building your own app?
Well, it's attracting and growing an audience.
Yeah.
So you have to acquire users, you have to attract users, you have to grow a completely new audience.
Yep.
Let's say you spend all this money and time growing and creating an audience on Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
Well, now you have to go back and basically start all over again.
Yeah. So a lot of what we're finding is a lot of folks want to immediately migrate to, let's make an app, right? Let's build the tech, let's make an app. And I think there probably are some cases where, where that could be interesting. The education space is one that I think that, like online education could be really interesting in that world.
Or if you want to do a subscription model,
yeah, for
that
sure,
makes sense.
100%. Yeah, like if you want to charge people to download, to download your app and join it, you have an experience that's worthy of having people join just your app, then it might make sense. Where the other angles would be to create, like a linear TV channel that would be your own channel. So say you have, say you're a car brand and you wanted to create a channel that was all about cars and whatnot. And then the third would be, like sort of sponsoring channels that exist. So let's maybe dive into each one of those and talk about like the pros and cons. So we kind of went through the building an app. The pros would be what?
Audience. Well, the pros would be you own the user.
Yeah.
You own the audience, and then you have a little bit more flexibility in terms of how you want to monetize that audience. You can do either a free ad-supported version or a subscription. Download.
Yeah, and you control the user experience, right? Like you can do whatever you want with the login paths, and the whole UX is yours to do whatever you want with.
Yep.
Migrating down to linear TV again, where you're inside of the Pluto TV experience. You kind of have to play by their rules, but at the same time, what are the pluses?
You're going where the audience already is, so you don't have to spend the money or the resources to create and build and grow an audience. You're already going where the audience is.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then maybe an offshoot of that, you don't necessarily have to build your own linear channel. You could either, partner with existing linear channels or sponsor inventory on an existing linear TV channel. Think back to, the TV and radio days or old school, to where, it still happens today. You turn on AM radio on a Saturday, Sunday morning, you're going to hear a 2-hour block about landscaping, right? And that is happening and will continue to happen in linear TV. So if you're an e-commerce brand or really a brand in general, it doesn't necessarily have to be an e-commerce brand, but our audience is e-commerce folks. But the moral of the story is, if you have a brand where informational content is relevant, finding linear channels to sponsor and partner with could be a really interesting a way to reach that audience that's not just simply putting ads in front of them.
Yep.
All right, so talk to me about ads then, right? So connected TV, you can run ads on these platforms. If I'm an e-commerce brand and I'm selling widgets, how do I buy this inventory? Like, what does that inventory look like?
Well, that's one of the reasons why this space has grown so quickly, is because it's already plugged into the existing digital and web and app advertising ecosystem.
Yeah.
So, which basically means programmatic advertising,
Yeah.
right? So, brands and companies that are already advertising on websites and buying media on social or through Google, for example, it's very easy to transfer budget over to OTT.
Yep. And if you're an agency that is running ads through something like Trade Desk, or
Yes, Trade Desk is already plugged into all this inventory.
Yeah. So all these big DSPs, right, demand side platforms that the agencies use to place big brand ads, are already piped into this infrastructure. So if you
it's just opting into it at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like another channel. You click the display button, you click the video button, you click the connected TV button. Talk to me about top of funnel versus bottom of funnel. I feel like we're starting to finally see, in the last year, we're starting to see a lot of top of funnel brand video dollars going towards connected TV. How long is it going to be before those budgets shift towards direct response like they did on the web?
I think that question still has yet to be answered, and the reason why is because the user flow in terms of getting the action required to do something that typically direct response does, that still hasn't been completely fleshed out yet. And so I think
us up on what those actions might be. Like on the web, it's what?
Clicks,
right? So clicks, downloads.
Yes.
Actions, right? Filling out a form, downloading,
submitting your email address.
Submitting an email address, yeah. So CPA, right? Cost per action or acquisition.
Yep.
I feel like we're going to get there quicker than we think, but one of the things that we're starting to see in our media buying team is that in the research that we're seeing, a big portion of the people that are watching connected TV are doing what they call dual screening, right? So they might be watching Pluto TV linear in the recliner, passive, but they're scrolling the phone, also at the same time. And so that allows for some interesting mobile experiences. And we're starting to see the connection between connected TV media buys and the phone in two particular ways, right? The first would be QR codes, which are kind of making a comeback, I think probably as a result of COVID, right? The restaurant menus that kind of brought that back, unfortunately. But an SMS, right? You'd probably start to see ads on connected TV where, text this number for something, right? A discount code or whatever. I think expect to see more and more of that. The other thing that I think that I want to dig into and get your perspective on here, Matt, is this idea of retargeting on the web is really what has driven a lot of growth in web and social advertising, right? You can retarget to people that have done things, right? You can retarget people that have been to your site or people that have done a certain thing. On connected TV, I'm starting to see that happen, right? So I'll be watching Hulu and I'll see an ad from a shirt that I looked at on whatever website. Like how far down that path are we?
So I think in terms of addressable TV, it's still in development stage. So there are companies like LiveRamp that are starting to do that, that are starting to fill those gaps where marketers want to take an audience that they've already engaged with on social or the web and target those same users on TV. So it's going down that path, but the space is still so new that it's still kind of wild west. And so, most of the plays are content driven or vertical driven, like they used to be back before programmatic advertising on the web really took hold.
Yeah, so let's talk about content for a second. One of the things that I think a lot of folks migrate to, let's talk about YouTube, because I think one of the things that people migrate to is, we have this channel on YouTube, that'll work for TV, right? That's not necessarily the case, right?
No, it's not. In fact, In fact, as the OTT space matures, YouTube content is becoming less desirable. So I think when the space first started, people were fine taking YouTube content and putting it on,
putting it in linear or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is now, with the audience becoming so big, the user experience and therefore the product overall has become a lot better, right? So if someone like a Pluto TV is they're competing against the Comcasts, the Cox, the traditional cable companies. They're competing for business from those guys.
Yeah.
And so what they have to do is come up with a TV experience, and that means more longer form, more episodic content, more movies.
More structure around the content.
Yes, a better, more polished user experience that frankly YouTube content, most of it is user generated.
Yeah.
It's, short form.
Quick hit, short form.
Yeah, and so it's just not the same product.
Yeah.
It's very different.
Yeah. Okay, so let's put ourselves back in the shoes of a CMO who's trying to figure out, how do I attack this world? The questions I need to answer are, first of all, who's my audience and what am I trying to pull off? How do I need to make an app, a channel? So the things that you have to think about as a CMO would be, do I need an app? Do I need a channel?
How much content do I have to create?
How much content do I have? Is my content already purposed for YouTube, and am I creating it from scratch? Is it episodic, or is it, not? All those decisions need to get made. Then the question is kind of, what's my marketing goal? Am I trying to sell merch? Am I trying to build an audience? Am I talking to an existing audience? There's a lot of questions that kind of need to get unraveled. Luckily, that's what our content studio does. So we do workshops all the time with e-commerce brands and brands in general, just to sort of whiteboard out the what ifs. How do we attack this world, and what are our options? So a little shameless plug, if you're at all thinking about this, get on the horn with one of our team members, and we'll do an hour sit down and help you navigate through these questions. I want to dive into this concept of linear commerce. Before we got on this show, we were watching a little episode from a guy named Webb Smith, who I've recently been following. He runs this thing called 2 p.m. It's this really interesting sort of, research project around direct-to-consumer e-commerce, and he talks about this concept of linear commerce, how all of the big media brands that have been created in the last 2 or 3 years are now becoming e-commerce companies, and vice versa. The e-commerce companies are becoming content brands. And he uses Barstool as an example. I kind of wonder where do you see that going? Where do you see that trend going? Do you see it, expanding? Do you think it's a fad? What do you think?
Well, like many other things, what was old is new again. Right, so companies like Procter and Gamble and such back in the day, they're the ones that actually funded the creation of soap operas, right? So they could advertise their products to housewives that stay at home and watch soap operas during the day, right? Yeah. And so now that's new again, right? And so
interesting. So this whole concept of brands thinking like media companies is not like a 2020 thing. That's like a 1960s.
It's kind of always been there.
Yeah. We just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. All right. Well, like I said, if you are curious about this kind of stuff, if you're curious about the tech and the content and how to get it done, hit us up, and we'll sit down with you. Appreciate you taking the time. Matt Brummett, CRO, Answer Media, and I'm Ryan Riggin, and behind the camera is our boy Ryan Inning, formerly of Timmy Likes to Fish. Thanks, guys.